it was cool to hear you speak about like with your athletes stuff. And I had the founder of Training Peaks on the podcast, which was really awesome.
No way.
As much as
Cool.
like he's built this crazy data-driven, online program and scheduling and all this stuff, but like he's super holistic as well. He's all about like the athlete-coach relationship.
Yeah.
And like what you said,
he
like who am I
knows.
to tell him not to do it? I could just warn him and say, look, if you do that, then the next month after it's going to feel like this and we're going to have to do that. Like if you're up for it, I'll help you. But he was, very hesitant on the AI involvement as well, right? So it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on the athlete coach holistic approach, and then where's the AI at? Where's it going to go? Like, and he said a good thing. He's like, for the entry level people, it is a good thing to get people into training and stuff. But if you have like a specific goal and you really want to get there, the AI doesn't really know how you're feeling. Yes, it could tell you didn't sleep that well, but like, what does the athlete really want to do? Should we tone him off this training? Should we maybe load the next week? And maybe if you can just like expand on that.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because like a lot of the athletes, they have sponsors, maybe Garmin, and they look at the data, and like Henry as an example, but many others, I say, look, that is only a tool, and it only gives you some data. Like we got to take it day by day. And what I don't like to do is plan out 6 weeks of training, let them get on. What I like to do is see how they're feeling and support their decisions on whether they should train that day. And like you say, how's their sleep been? How's their stress? How's their nutrition? And how are they actually feeling? And HRV doesn't always tell you that it's great. And when I first got a Whoop band, because I have this PDA thing, and I would wake up and it'd say, oh, your recovery today is 3. You should not train. I'd be like, screw you, I'm going to go. And I would train. And the next day, my recovery rate was 70. I'm like, hold on a second. You told me I shouldn't train because it was 3. And today, after training really hard, it's 70. See, like, and then other times when it's at 100 and I feel like, oh, maybe not 100, but like in the 80s, 90s, I'm like, I'm not mentally engaged in this today. Therefore, I don't want to give it 70% for the sake of it. I'll wait another day until I'm committed. So it doesn't account for that psychology, which, I'm in a really nice position with some of my athletes because I get to talk to them and through my experience. And most of the time I say, this is how I felt in a similar scenario, and I allow them to make the decision. Not that I am my one person case study that I am telling you should do this because it worked for me. I relay what I've experienced and what other people are telling me so they can make a decision on that day. And it's being fine with that. The data is there as a tool. It shouldn't determine what you do. And you always have a choice. And with the AI side, so I don't see that AI is a bad thing if you understand it and you don't rely on it too hard. So AI is ultimately just a very brilliant way to process data very quickly. But the AI models are trained by people. So say Training Peaks, AI doesn't know what the data is. Someone has to say this data means this. Therefore, if somebody does this, it means this. And the training over time is determined by someone's subjective approach based on old science. So I see that with the right machine learning, it can get somewhere, but we can't determine whether that is, we're talking the difference between ChatGPT, MML AI, that is like guess the next word, and an algorithmic high-powered training model that is isolated from what you might understand AI is. Those models are fantastic, and they're used for very brilliant things and progressions that would take so much human input, and mathematicians and physicists. We can do that on AI nowadays. And I think in its infancy, it's great. I mean, in my opinion, ask ChatGPT for a diet program, and it's very good. You say, I don't like mushrooms, I want high protein, these are my activities, because that information is freely available on the internet and very well studied. So ChatGPT can interrogate this to find you something to save you 20 hours of your own research. And then you can follow a basic plan then that's written for you without having to pay for it. Because that information is there. When we're thinking about actually science is limited and AI may not be able to access all of that science on the ChatGPT side, we take a model and we train it to our specification based on the data that we input. So I've looked personally into AI, so I have a good understanding and also an understanding of its limits. But yeah, I know you could type in, write me a program for Fit for Racing, or write me a strength and conditioning program for mountain biking. I want to do the Trans-Madeira next year, but I want it in the style of Fit for Racing. And it may well give you quite a similar program because, well, I did this myself. And I was like, fuck, this is very close to what we do. But then I thought, well, actually, look, if I was an alcoholic, then maybe I'd just go and buy some pure methylated spirits and drink that. But I'm not. I like to have a drink, and I like to spend £20 on a bottle of red wine because spending that money makes me believe in it more, appreciate it more, but it's got a story to it that I'm engaged in. So I'm not there to drink it to get drunk, always, but I'm there to appreciate the
sometimes.
progress. Sometimes. Oh, of course, sometimes. If you've ever seen me at World Cups, then yeah. Anyway, aside from that, my point is that actually what we create is a belief because of our experience in a subjective world that can't be determined by what's currently on the internet. And that belief is that actually I understand mountain bikers' needs and that I don't prioritize strength and conditioning because that's my business. But I do know that applying it to your training or your week could be super beneficial for people. And the way that I do it is not you access the program and it links you to a demo of a back squat, because I know that throughout the season, a back squat can be done 50, 100 different ways. And I need to be able to explain to people how to do that. That's why we film the programs every single week for the program coming up. So I can explain this week, we're doing a back squat this way. This is how you set it up. If you can't put the bar here, subsidize for this. And here's how you execute it with tempo, position, etc. So that then there's a lot more depth to the program, because ultimately we created our own platform because I couldn't find anywhere I could, with integrity, coach people online. So we built that. And this is where I've backed myself into a corner, having to film programs every single week, because this is what I believe. I don't want an off-the-shelf thing. I want to be able to coach people and say, this is the reason we're doing this. And these are the options, but this is why. And you ChatGPT a Fit for Racing program, and you'll get it written out. There you go. Brilliant. Go out and do that. If you're experienced enough to do that and you can build your own whys, then that might be nearly there for you. But for us, it's the additional value that AI might be able to do in the future with a super hot girl avatar of me. Like Jonny's transitioned now and he's mega hot, and this engages even more. I don't know where that goes, but for now, like, my human input adds so much more than AI can do. But I'm not saying don't do the AI thing. For Training Peaks, it is data, like with mountain bike. So what I was going to say is, like, for Training Peaks, with the data side, like, this is why I've been approached by multiple road cyclists. I'm like, no, I'm not going to, because you are an engine on a bike. You may as well just be a piece of meat with no brain. And what we do is we check your power, heart rate, nutrition, hydration, recovery, and we put you on a bike, optimize you, and off you go. We know everything about that because there's only a very little amount of skill. And that's why I love mountain biking, because actually we take the people, we get them to commit to the training, reduce the time of training, so then they can build their skills more. So you're not just the better you perform, the better you perform. Does that make sense? Whereas like training peaks, if we're looking at heart rate, wattage, etc., yeah, there's probably a very good algorithmic approach to tell you what's optimal for you. But does it take into account your day-to-day heart rate variable? You know, if we're removing the subjective how I feel today, are they actually using every metric they can find and also accounting for training age, actual age, gender, and all of those things? Because currently you can go and pay 200 quid for a pro coach to write you something that ChatGPT could do on increasing your VO2 max. But without an AI engine that is trained on all variables that's available, then maybe it still is a little bit limited, and maybe actually that human coach can have a subjective input that makes you a fraction better. That's on the data-led approach. But for us, you know, mountain biking being a skills-based sport, the engagement is way more important for us based on the science that backs up the improvement and the feedback from the riders, beginners to pros. All of that builds this value position of ours where actually, yes, 2 days a week in the gym for 1 hour can massively improve your riding.